I have already told you in the beginning that I have one effective reading strategy to help you in reading class. It is called as SQRRR. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi my dear student, how are you? Hopefully everyone is feeling great and ready to learn with me, Miss Mutiara Ayu. Okay my dear student, today it is our first time in our subject, the next level of reading class. It is basic reading. So in this subject, you are going to learn about some kinds of genre of the text, right? So at the end of the subject, you are expected to be able to comprehend the learning contract in basic reading. For example, what basic reading is, like the description of the subject, and then what the topic will be discussed during this semester. And also, you will be able to comprehend the activities that you are going to conduct in this subject. And then, I also will explain about the certain reading method that can be used in this subject. So at the end, you are able to implement or demonstrate the steps or even the way in this subject, right? So now, let's start the first topic. I do believe some of you are wondering, what is the difference between the previous reading subject and the current reading subject now? Well, actually, if we focus or throw back to the previous subject, which is about functional reading class, it focuses in short functional texts. Well, do you still remember what kinds of short functional texts are they? That's good. They are announcement, invitation, manual, notice, or advertisement, right? Meanwhile, in this current subject, in this level of the next level of reading subject, which is basic reading, we move on to the hardest one. So it is graded to the next level of reading text. You are going to read other kinds or genre of reading text. They are narrative text, descriptive text, procedure, and then news item. Alright, so this subject is intended to increase students' ability in comprehending longer passage or text. So, if we compare to the previous one, you only read a very short text, right? Such as notice or advertisement. But right now, you will be challenged by longer passage. But it will be more interesting. And then, this subject will focus to develop student skill in understanding and responding some written basic genre of the text, as I told you before, involving procedure, descriptive, recount, narrative, and news item. So, it enables you to comprehend the text by using a certain reading method. It is SQRRR. Later on, I will explain to you what kind of reading strategy it is. So, my dear student, at the end of this subject, right, you are able to comprehend and conclude the information from the text fluently, accurately, and also appropriately. That's the keyword. So you will have the skill in reading to catch the point or the information from the text. Alright, now, before I go further to explain to you about the teaching strategy, let me explain to you about the kinds of text or the genre of the text that will be discussed in this subject. Do you still remember what I have told you before? That's right. We have in this meeting, I will only explain to you a very brief explanation since we will discuss it more detail later on in the next session, right? So for the first one, we have narrative text. I do believe you have already learned about this kind of text when you were in senior high school, right? Now my question, do you still remember what is narrative text? Like, what is the function of this text? That's a good answer. So if we talk about narrative text, it means that the function or the objective of this text is to amuse or to entertain the readers with the fairy tale. So like it tells you about such a legend, fable, myth, or folk tale. There are so many well-known examples of narrative text. For instance, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, Hansel and Gretel, right? So I do believe that you are familiar with those example or the title of the narrative text. So in this subject, we are going to focus to read those kind of texts. And if you're asking to me, Miss Mutiara, so how's about the generic structure? And then what kind of, the feature of the narrative text? Please be patient. We are going to discuss it later on in the next meeting. Now, let's move on to the second type of reading text. It is about recount text. So recount, again, it is like, to retell or to report the event or the activities or experience that have happened in the past. So like you retell, it can be your own personal experience, it can be someone's experience, but the main point is, if we talk about recount text, it relates to the past activity or the past event. For example, in the last holiday, you had such a trip to Bali. So if you write it down as a text and you retell about the activities that you have done during the trip, and then like you swam in the beach, in the sea, and then you went to the party, for example, the club. So meaning that you are doing the recount text, all right? So the title of the text is, it can be like a memorable day at the beach or my first day in campus. Okay, do you follow me so far, everyone? Nice, that's good. Now, let's move on to the third kind of reading text. It is about procedure. Okay, again, it is procedure. So, do you have any idea about this kind of text? Good. Well, if we talk about procedure, it tries to describe the step, how to make something or how to do something. So there will be such a specific generic structure, yeah, related such as materials, steps, or even like ingredient if you are trying to explain about recipe. Okay, recipe is also one of the example of procedure text. Or if you just bought a new cell phone, you are going to get such a manual. If you still remember, we have already learned about that topic, right, in the functional reading class. So it is the example of procedure text. Now, the last but not the least, it is about descriptive. Okay, from the term is used descriptive. It is taken from the word or the verb describe. So we can conclude the function of this text is to describe a thing. It can be a person or also a place. For example, you are one of fans of Korean actress, and then you're trying to explain or describe about her. So meaning that it is kind of descriptive text because you try to describe and explain about the characteristic, the performance, the appearance, right? Like their hair or their skin. So this kind of characteristic implied as a descriptive text. Or if you have a pet at your house, well, you also want to describe about it. It also included as a descriptive text. Well, my dear students, is it clear enough so far? Good job. Now, let's move on to the next one. It is our main topic. I have already told you in the beginning that I have one effective reading strategy to help you in reading class. It is called as SQRRR. So if we make it longer, yeah, meaning that SQRRR. So we have 3 R here. What does it stand for, Miss Muti? Well, my dear student, SQRRR stands for S for survey, Q is for question, the first R is read, the third R is recite, and the last R is review. Well, you know, it is a very well-known reading strategy because it is a proven technique to sharpen students' ability in reading. It can be a text or even it can be a book. So in this case, I will focus on implementing the way to use this SQRRR in a book or in a chapter. But it doesn't matter, you cannot use this in your, reading a text or a short passage. You still can use it. So check this out. Well, let's start for the first S. Do you still remember what is the first S? Yes, it's survey. But it doesn't mean that you go to like the library and then you do survey or you do observation. No, that's not the way. Well, if you are going to do the first step, survey, meaning that you survey the chapter to preview, okay, the chapter or the book or the text before you read it. So like before you read the whole text or the whole book, you only preview it. You scan like with the, and very quickly, you know. What you can do is, first, if you do survey, you will get an idea of what the chapter or the book is about by reviewing the highlight. Okay. What kind of like strategy can you use in the survey step? Well, you just read the title or the heading or the subheading. Well, or you look at the chart, the graphs, the pictures, or the maps as the visual materials to help you like to get the highlight of the book or the chapter. Only the title, again, subheading, pictures, map, graphics. Or if it consists of some caption, you also can just read it. For example, when you just search on Google and then you try to find out a narrative text, sometimes there is a picture, right? In the middle or in the, like on the left of the text, yeah, you will find out a picture. And then below the picture, you are going to see such a caption, right? So that's the way you do the survey step. So you only try to guess, well, this is the picture, and then there is a caption below that picture, and I try to find the idea before I get to the reading activities, the main activities, which is reading, right? And then the next step in survey is you only read like the beginning or the first paragraph and also the end of paragraph, because usually the first or the end of the paragraph, it will tell you the idea, all right? Like the conclusion related to the text or to the book itself. Well, that's the first step. It is survey. Do you follow me, everyone? Well, that's very good. Now, let's move on to the second step, which is question. Q. S and now is Q. Q is for question. Well, it's very clear that if we imagine or we try to guess question, meaning that we have to try to make a question. That's great. That's a great guessing, because as you survey the text and then you ask question of each section or what is that, like the chapter, you can use WH question. For example, ask what, why, how, when, who, where, or like, you know, the related question that relate to the content. Okay, so I have some strategies or tips for you to create such a question. The first one, you have already read the the title, right? The heading and subheading. So you turn those aspects or those points into question, and then after that you rewrite the question at the end of the chapter or after it's subheading in your own word. And the last one, you write down your question. Question will help you pay attention, understand the text better, and also recall the information more easily later on. Why must be a question then? Well, you know, you have already had such a, guessing in your mind related to the previous step, right? It is about survey. Now, of course, to make it more encourage yourself to get more information before you read the text, you're wondering about a certain question related that you have already guessed. It will help you and it will guide you to, to get more attention and to get more understanding later on when you are doing the main activities about the text that you are reading. Okay, so it is one of the crucial steps. So please, if you have already done the survey step, you write the question in a paper to lead yourself, okay, to get more information later on in the text. And now we move on to the first R. Well, do you still remember what is the first R? Yeah, that's reading. Okay, so the first R is for reading. So meaning that when you start reading the chapter or the text, so you just read the chapter or the text only a time. Okay, only a time, only once. Meaning that you are trying to actively looking for the answer to your question that you have made before in the second step, right? And then after you have already done the first reading activity, you try to pay attention, okay, to the bold text of the author used to make the important points. Why? I do believe some of you had such an experience when you are reading a certain text, you will find out a bold or italic word that is the key point or the keyword and the text. So when you are doing the reading activities, you pay attention to the keywords. So because it will lead you to the idea or to the point that the text want to deliver to the readers, right? And then you also must be sure to review everything in the section, because sometimes, you know, like in the passage, you will find out tables, graph, and illustration, as these pictures can communicate an idea more powerfully than written text. So in this case, if you are having such an assignment, for example, in news item text, and there will be information related to, for example, about the disaster, the victims of the disaster, and it will deliver the number of disaster. So you do not need, right, to read the written text starting from the beginning until the end. So you only focus on the table because it delivers the specific information about the text. Do you get what I mean? Good job. Now, let's move on to the second R. What is the second R? It is recite. Well, at the end of this section of your reading activities, you try to look up from the text and in your own word, recite an answer to your question for the section. And then write down your answer. Be sure to provide examples to support it. Okay? So, if you have done the reading activities, the first R, so now it's time for you to, to get the point or to get the idea about the text by using your own word. So you try to understand by using your own understanding, all right? And then don't forget, always write down, jot down the information that you have already understood. And then try to answer the question that you have met in the second step. It is about question, okay? And after that, now, after you have already tried to conclude by yourself, by using your own word, now repeat the question, okay? Read and recite step for each section of the chapter or assigned reading. That's the way. First, you have to find out the answer, as I told you before. Again, find out the answer. And finally, recite the answer in your own words and jot it down. The written question and answer will help you study in the future. That's the way or the strategy that you can use in the second R. It is recite. Now, the last but not the least, it is the third R, review. Well, if you have completed a chapter or reading assignment, you have to review your notes. Remember that you have already written some important point, some detailed information that you have already understood based on the text. So you try to review it. Alright? Identify the main point of the reading by looking for the most important idea in each section. Recite or write a brief summary of the chapter or your assignment. Okay? Because in review step, you will try to find out the conclusion related to the text that you have read, and then you try to analyze it by using your own understanding, and later on it will really help you to remember the information that you have got from the text. All right. Now, let me ask you the SQ-RRR that I have just told you. Do you still remember that? SQ-RRR. What is S? That's good. S is for survey, Q is for question. The first R is for reading. And then the second one is for recite. And the last R is for, that's good answer, review. Well, my dear student, now we have done about the materials for our first meeting in basic reading. But if you have like more question related to our materials today, you may just contact me or you can ask in our SPADA website. But for your further reading sources, here I have some references here. There are 3 references that can be accessed. You can find it out in Google, yeah, or you also can just go to our library to borrow this book. And it's very nice to see you in online class. I hope that you will enjoy it. Happy learning and see you in the next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan video pembelajaran ini. Jangan lupa like, komen dan subscribe, serta nyalakan tanda loncengnya agar kalian tidak ketinggalan informasi update lainnya.